Hello everybody, welcome back to C&S Corvettes in beautiful sunny Sarasota, Florida. It's your Corvette buddy Lyle along with C&S's owner Steve to talk to you about more interesting, exciting, and hopefully helpful Corvette stuff. Today's topic, however, a little bit harder to be happy about. We're going to be talking about some of the big changes that are happening in the Corvette parts world. As you guys know, C&S Corvettes for 52 years has been very involved in Corvette parts supplying. We started out in the salvage business, parting out Corvettes and selling the good used parts off of those cars to people who needed them to make their cars whole again. Then about 13 years ago, we started making parts that solved problems brand new. And we have now expanded that quite a bit. If you watch our YouTube channel, you're probably already aware of a great deal of those. But what we are seeing is that there are major changes afoot in the Corvette parts availability, especially when it comes to original used parts. Steve, what do you think the big things that are happening in the used part world that we should share with them are?
I think that we see the used parts world diminishing greatly. The newer cars are so vehicle specific. So many of the parts that may fail on your car and you go looking for a used one are specific to a certain serial number, VIN number, that even if you find one that is good, it may not mate, if you will, to your car. And some of those modules and computers, some of those items, and they don't have to be just electronics. You know, a number of cars out there, if you break your windshield, it has to be programmed to the car, the windshield. So it makes it real hard to go, oh, look, a used such and such, I'm going to put this on my car, because it's not going to work. A lot of the modules and computerized stuff have gotten so expensive and so intricate and so guarded by the manufacturers, not just General Motors, that nobody's ever going to reproduce them. Most people can't at this time reprogram or repair many of them. So the used parts world is going to be, I think, narrowed down to hard parts, a fender, a drive shaft, hard parts like that. And on some of the European cars, even body panels have to be recognized by the main computer. So it's going to get really ugly for trying to fix these high technology cars in the future. Along with that, a number of the people in the Corvette salvage business particularly aren't here anymore. They've retired, they've had enough, they've quit, whatever it might be. Contemporary Corvette, they were probably the biggest supplier of salvaged used C5, C6, C7 parts. They're gone. They closed. They didn't even sell out. They just closed and threw everything away. They were the biggest supplier. How are we going to fix these cars? Where are we going to get these parts? We can't answer it. And if you've got some ideas or if you have some insight that we don't have, I'd love to hear it, because I need to be educated on this, but that's what I'm seeing.
I see the same thing, and the loss of contemporary is it's caused a sea change in the Corvette, especially the older Corvette aftermarket stuff and availability of those used parts. And companies like us who have a familiarity with salvaging out Corvettes, we looked at what it would be like to get back into the salvage business to kind of help fill that need. Here's the problem with that. It's actually twofold. Number one, if you're going to run an automobile salvage facility, the EPA rules and regulations for that have become so tight, and meeting those and building the infrastructure in your piece of property to handle that according to their laws is so expensive that only really giant corporations can afford to do it. Even if we could get by with it, we have the second problem. The second problem is buying wrecked Corvettes out of the insurance auctions, which is where most every one of those cars come from. isn't what you think it is anymore. Because when Steve or I would get on the computer to look at cars that were coming up for auction at the salvage sales, we're looking at piles of parts that still kind of sort of resemble a car, because that car can't be a car again in the United States. Unfortunately, most of the people who are bidding on these cars are bidding on them from outside of the United States, where they can ship that car to Lithuania or Uzbekistan or Dubai. And with chicken wire and duct tape, they can make that a running, driving, legitimate vehicle. Well, legally legitimate vehicle again.
Yeah, I was going to correct you on the legitimacy.
So they're bidding on cars, and we're bidding on parts, and we can't buy parts at whole car prices. And we've talked to some of our other friends in the salvage world, and they're all seeing the same thing. It is just getting so difficult to source some of these parts. Even stuff we need for our own customers' cars is getting harder and harder.
I think, so, and to that point, I don't think people understand how much a wrecked Corvette costs. I'm not talking about a 1976 that's been out in somebody's field with the cows for 20 years, but a C8 2020, 21, 22, anywhere in that range. That car wrecked. And I mean, when you look at it and go, did anybody live? That car wreck can bring $50,000 or more. If it's anything special, a lot more. Mm-hmm. How do you salvage enough parts off of that car to make back profit on something that there's not enough parts on it to pay for what the car costs you? I don't understand it. And man, it doesn't look pretty.
And it isn't just the salvage market that's having some big sea changes. The new parts, the new parts vendors, the big catalogs and stuff, they're going through some very, very difficult times. It used to be that the big companies like Corvette Central, Corvette America, Mid-America, Eckler's, Zip, all those big catalogs were individually owned companies, and they were usually family run. Well, in the last 10 years, almost all of them have been purchased by, what would you call those things?
Private equity, maybe?
Yeah, private equity firms, investment firms and
stuff.
Not
car people.
Not car people. And so what they do is they go in, they buy this company that's been there for 20, 30, 50 years, whatever it is. And the first thing they do is they get rid of any of the employees who have been there long enough to know what these parts fit, what cars they fit, how the cars work, and they replace them with the least expensive people sitting staring at a computer screen with a headset on that they can find. And the problem is, in order to maximize profit, especially if they were focused on one thing like just Corvette, they then expand to, well, we're going to provide stuff for Mustangs and Aston Martins and Mercedes and Volkswagen, and they get so big and they get so much inventory that within 4 to 6 years, they financially collapse, and then they are sold off to yet another venture capital firm, and the cycle starts over again. What are you seeing, or what are your thoughts on this?
From what I've seen, and I'm not a financial analyst by any stretch. I'm doing good. I can balance my own checkbook, but I see these big corporations coming in and buying. Let's use Eckler's as an example. They buy Eckler's. They change everything. They get rid of people who know anything because they've been there too long and they're making too much money. They're bought by these private equity acquisition companies. They burden them with debt. And again, I don't understand what that benefit is, but in 3 years, they're sold again. And somebody else buys it and they do the same thing. Well, before long, you have more debt than you have assets, and they go out of business. Where are we going to source this stuff? Who's going to put up the capital to do the tooling, to do the research, to do the engineering, to make the parts that we need? And as these cars get more complicated and electronic, you're not going to match the electronic abilities, the modules and that kind of stuff. It's not like going to a machine shop and saying, make this bracket. It's intense. Nobody can afford to do it. And it's for such a small market. You know, we think of the Corvette world being pretty big. It's not. And so if you're going to spend $2-3 million on tooling up for something, and that is a realistic number, how many do you have to sell to get your tooling costs back? It's not going to happen. So what we'll see is when your C8 that you bought last week, when it's 10, 20, 30 years old, it's going to be a parts car, of which most of the parts won't fit anything else anyway. And it's going to be really ugly for a lot of us Corvette owners.
Well, you remember our conversation we had with Bosch at SEMA about the 97 to 2000 electronic brake control modules that nobody can rebuild with any reliability. You sat down and talked with them, and what did they tell you they needed from you?
Oh, I don't remember the exact dollars anymore, but they wanted like $2,000 or $3,000 per unit, times like 10,000 units.
Yeah.
That won't play in my backyard. And how are you ever going to recoup knowing that they only built so many of these cars? The analogy I always use is, if we were building toasters, mm-hmm. and every household in the United States had at least one, you can amortize that tooling, that development cost, over several million units. Mm-hmm. It's not going to happen in the Corvette world. And we're not talking about a $2 heating coil for a toaster. We're talking about a $5,000 or $10,000 computer module. Yeah. I don't know the answer, and I sure wish I did.
And please understand, this isn't us complaining to you guys, right? This is, when it's Steve and I talking to you like this is conversations that he and I have in the office that we were like, you know what, we're going to share this with our followers so that they're aware of what we deal with and what's happening in the industry in the larger picture. This is not complaining. This is just stating the state of the hobby as it is. And again, we're open to ideas. The problem is all ideas cost money. And small businesses like ours, as busy as we are, as well thought of as we are, and as successful as we are, we don't have access to millions of dollars to solve these problems. And the companies that do don't seem interested in doing it anymore.
And for the very reason I stated is there's not enough return on investment. Mm-hmm. Again, toasters, yes. Corvettes, yep. No.
Well, and let's say it's a $2,000 module on a car that costs $100,000. Okay, a $2,000 module on a car that costs $7,000 or $8,000.
Like a C4 in particular in those numbers.
Yep. It's just not tenable. In fact, we saw this with, and many of you have probably seen it, if you have a C5 or a C6 with the F55 magnetic ride shocks. It's a fantastic system. It works really, really well. But at $700 a piece for those shocks, if and when you can find them, nobody can afford to do that when the car is now worth 15 or 20 grand. You're going to go ahead and have it programmed out, and you're going to put regular shocks back on the car. We do it here all the time to keep the cars healthy and keep their owners able to still enjoy them, albeit without an adjustable suspension.
I look at things of this nature and I try to analyze it, from a capitalistic standpoint. What opportunities are there when I look out and see where this is going? Where can I do something in the middle, A, to help the hobby, and B, to make money, or really A, to make money, and B, to help the hobby? I don't see the answers. There's not in reality, do this, do that, but it doesn't work. So like Lyle said, we're not damning anything. We're not whining to you, but it's something we all need to be concerned about because we're all going to feel the impact of it down the road.
Mm-hmm. And I think you would probably agree, the future of families having a Corvette in the family for generations. It was grandpa's Corvette, then it was dad's, then it's the son's, and now it's getting passed to the grandson. I don't think that's going to be something that we can do in the future because everything is made to be disposed of now. There are enough obstacles put in the way of professionals or knowledgeable car owners to try to keep these cars super long term. And that's sad because that's part of what drove the hobby, was that the Corvette was often a member of the family just as much as anybody else was.
So I think we've burdened them enough.
Yep.
We're open for suggestions. We're open for input. We are far from experts on this. It's just that this is what we see and concern ourselves with in everyday conversation.
Agreed. If you guys have additional comments or thoughts, please put them in the comments below. Especially when it's a kind of a roundtable discussion like this, that's one of the most important things we get out of this, because sometimes we get good ideas from you guys. So comment, like, and subscribe if you like what we're doing here, and we'll see you again soon.